Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed, but we are joined by a fellow guest and podcaster, Adam Aniba of the Banji Report. How you doing, sir?
Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be back, man.
Of course. We're always happy to join the draft guru, Adam Aniba himself. And so, Reed, you weren't with us on the pod on Tuesday. So before we get into the looking forward, looking into the future, I want to ask Adam, how did you view that game from Saturday night? Me personally, it took me a couple days to be able to get my thoughts and feelings together from not being able to see them for another 9 months. But what was your feeling from that game?
I think you really, if you didn't do it, go back and watch it. Go back, watch full length, don't cut it up from beginning to end. You'll see so many things that, you missed. And I really walk away with that game with so many positives. A lot of people were really down on the defensive performance. I get it. They were expecting Young to ball out, 5 sacks. But Tampa Bay had a great plan. Tom Brady is a great quarterback. And anybody who says anything different just doesn't know football. And I think he's a rookie. And you have to understand, this is the NFL. And these guys get paid millions of dollars to out-scheme. Todd Bowles, he's awesome.
Yes,
Arians, I think he's underrated. I think he gets a lot of crap, but I think he's a really good coach. I think he's good at scheming. I think he knows what to do. But overall, man, how can you not walk away feeling somewhat positive after seeing Taylor Heineke, man? Because this kid, after the game, I also had to go watch some ODU from off not this last game, but the quarter that he came in. And man, this kid's a baller. If he was 2 inches bigger, we'd be talking about him with Wentz and Joe Flacco. There's no reason, me on the small school level, I've only been doing it since Darius Leonard. That's when I really got into the small schoolers. But ever since, I love getting in the conversations when people say, well, they're a small schooler. What have they done? And the truth is, they've done a hell of a lot in this league. And just because they're not first rounders, they're not starters, but you're going to see with him. We can't jump to conclusions with Taylor that he's, the savior of the franchise. But I feel a lot better going into the offseason because I don't feel that they have to reach. I think if you have some prime targets, the Watson dreams are out there. The Stafford dream is out there. Other than that, I don't think you have to go crazy if you can't get somebody like that you want, which I'm all for draft. So I think that I'd be okay going in with him. Allen, maybe. I wouldn't mind seeing another low-end vet. But I see no reason why they can't find a guy in the second, even third round in this draft, looking at the depth, just looking at some of the talent. I see no reason why they can do that. A guy that I liked and I thought would have been probably a decent prospect in the second round was Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati.
That's what I said 2 weeks ago.
I was a little disappointed to see him come back.
I'll
tell you what, guys, he's going to be a first round next year because of it.
He's a stud.
I can see the holes in his game. And for Washington, I would have thought he would take about a year, maybe 2, to be ready. After this playoff run, that's not what's going to happen anymore, guys. I think Taylor Heineke is the quick. You have to understand, we have a pocket of time with the players. Daron Payne, he's going to get extended. Allen's going to get extended. Tough calls with Ioannidis, tough calls with others. Kerrigan, he's gone. So you have a 3-year window or so right now with this current roster. And I think going the draft route is great. And we've seen how valuable backups can be. But in the end, I think you can go into next season. You have a guy that can run your offense. They need to stop with the durability crap because if it was a durability issue, guess what? He wouldn't have came back in the game. So to me, I'm not scared off of durability because if he wouldn't have came back and balled out like he did. So to me, he's smaller. Give him reps. Let him get under. He'll start running less. I assure you guys that he'll be going out of bounds more. Because, he's a guy trying to earn a spot right now. But, man, going into the offseason, I can really see a few upgrades. And we're talking about getting through, a division title again and a playoff, first round. And who knows? Sky's the limit with a couple additions, guys.
Yeah, and so, Reed, you weren't able to be with us on Tuesday. So let me ask you, what were your thoughts from that game? And I know that Ryan Kerrigan was after on the field kind of taking it all in. So do you think that Ryan Kerrigan's a foregone conclusion that he's gone?
Yeah, I don't think that there was really any question about it. Like Adam said, we got a lot of people that we're going to have to re-sign within the next 3 years. We're going to have to spend a good amount of money. Ryan is fantastic as he's been for this franchise. Unfortunately, it is time for him to go. He's just going to cost too much money. we have too much respect for him to let him sit. And even though he's a major part of the rotation, he's huge in the locker room. He wants to go start somewhere. He deserves to go compete wherever it is that he wants to go. So let him go do that. But yeah, of course it was bittersweet. I mean, I didn't expect us to win going into the game. I picked us to win because I thought we were all doing that because I thought it was going to be fun and we would all and then give us some good juju. That didn't happen. I went first. I picked us to win. Then you two assholes go and pick us to lose, and I look like the psycho one. But no, I didn't expect us to win. I was just very happy with the way that they played. The offense looked completely different than it had basically since we had Kyle Allen running the show a little bit, and even obviously better. But they moved the ball. I was so impressed with Taylor Heineke. Obviously, I think that he does like you said, Adam, unless we can go out there and get like a Stafford, somebody of that nature, then I think you can feel kind of comfortable going in with Kyle Allen and Taylor Heineke and them kind of battling it out and see who comes out on top. Heineke at least deserves a chance to be the backup, if we get if we get a mainline starter. He played fantastic. Now, it is one game. I mean, we saw Kyle Allen in Carolina where he balled out for the first 4 games, and then everybody thought that he could be their next franchise guy, and then he started to slump a little bit. So that type of stuff does happen, but you definitely like what you saw with Heineke. There's no reason to not take a chance with him. And of course, the defense, like you said, it's Tom Brady in the playoffs. It sucks, but I mean, hey, we were in the game. It was a lot closer than a lot of the draft or than a lot of the pundits thought. So I was okay with it. And yes, I'm disappointed, but at the same time, what a season. Nobody thought we would be there, and we overachieved, and we're on the right path. And give it a couple years, I really think that this team's going to be a contender.
Yeah, and like the one hot topic going around social media is the possibility of Washington trading for some of these quarterbacks that are going to be available or signing them in free agency. So, Hall, let me go with you. Let's say if you could go after one quarterback, are you going to trade for him? Who is it going to be? Are you going to sign him? What quarterback would you go for?
Are we talking like realistic or like unrealistically? Because unrealistically, I'm going to say Deshaun Watson, obviously. Right. But that's like out of the realm of any type of possibility. But realistically, I would probably go with, obviously, everyone's throwing the Stafford out there. But he'd probably be my top pick just because he's a well-established veteran in this league. Great arm. He can push the ball down the field. If you want to draft a guy at some point, he's going to be a great mentor to that young guy. And I think that Stafford has at least about, 4 years left in him. So that could open up our window to be a contender with this type of defense and a veteran quarterback on the squad. That would be my number one seed as far as bringing in a quarterback.
Yeah, and the one thing is Alex Smith. I feel like that is the huge wrench into this whole thing because if Alex is going to play next year, it's kind of hard to think about that they would bring in a quarterback for a big price tag or have to give away assets to go get him. So in your opinion, Adam, do you think that Alex Smith will be playing here next year? And if you could, what quarterback would you go after via free agency or trade?
I'm going on the assumption he's going to retire because, let's think about it, guys. The great story, I think, what does he really gain by coming back? I'm not a cap expert, but I believe by retiring, he definitely forfeits some money, or I believe it gets spread out how it works. But it would help Washington tremendously. And I just don't really think he has anything to prove. I think that calf strain was a lot worse than people thought. I think after giving it a lot of thought, he gave it a try. And I think he's saying that he's going to take some time, but that's the only smart thing to do. So to me, the writing's on the wall. In saying that, honestly, I haven't been big into trading picks for free agents, because we've been there, done that. But like I said a minute ago about the window, the couple, 2-3 window, Stafford, that's what I see him as. I see him as a quarterback who has a real, he can play 5, 6, 7 more years, but I see him 2-3 more years with a really good window to win with this team. You're talking about McLaurin, Thomas, the weapons we have. We can add some guys. Stafford would be a great option. And people will bring up the issue with the injuries. Again, I'll say he plays through injuries. So that's the kind of guys Rivera likes. So this whole Stafford idea was brought to me by my contributor, Paul. And at first I was poo-pooing it, not even thinking about it. But the more I thought about it, it makes sense. The compensation is not going to be crazy. I really think that a lot of people are saying a second. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a third, fourth, and maybe a fourth the following year. I don't think it would be crazy. I think what they're trying to instill in there, I don't think that he fits the mold. In saying that, let's see who they bring in as the GM. That's going to matter big time. Will it be Mayhew? Because a lot of people right now are saying that he could be the favorite. If he is, he's probably less likely to bring Stafford over, not because of I'm not exactly sure if they were there at the same time.
They were. But Mayhew and Stafford were. Yeah.
They were.
He
but
drafted
I don't
Stafford.
think that we'll get the connection if that happens right away. But to me, that doesn't mean crap, because I think if he comes here, from what I understand, he does not like to trade picks. He likes to be, for the most part, conservative with quarterbacks, and we saw the result in Detroit. But I think he's an option. I like the option of him and Heineke in a draft pick a lot more than Heineke, Allen in a draft pick. So let's say that. But again, it's all going to fall on if Alex Smith retires, because it's still a huge chunk of change. And, we're still going to have a little bit with Dwayne Haskins next year. Let's not forget that. I think it's going to be around just under $7 million that they'll have to pay out next year if I have to look at the cap. But, they're going to be in the realm, I believe, $45 million plus. Have some big decisions with, Brandon Schriff if they're going to bring him back. That's a big hit. So I think they have a lot of decisions, what they want to do, how they want to allocate their money. But picking 19, I don't think it precludes you from taking one of the, the top guys. But, if you guys saw my big board today, I don't think that Fields is the guy for Washington, not because the whole OSU connection. I don't have him on my big board just because I don't see him as someone that could fit here. But I think that they can find a guy a little later that they can work in the system, because honestly, in the end, Turner really showed me a lot over the last 3 games. And I think with Heineke, can't get crazy, but that no matter who you get, if you get a Stafford, if you get a guy in free agency, he's good to come in and give you 2-3 games if he has to through injury or more. We don't know. So again, quarterback situation, feel a lot better going into next year.
Yeah, and I've been having trouble thinking about this, because everyone is right by saying that the quarterback position is the missing link, right, with this team, because they do have a window of an opportunity to have a dominant defense, to go far in the playoffs and possibly win a Super Bowl, and the quarterback position separates them. But the problem that I have is, giving away so many assets to be able to to get one of those quarterbacks is troublesome, in my opinion, because let's just say that an Alex Smith type of thing happens. You have to be able to have something underneath of you to carry you for that time, and that's what I'm worried about. And one thing with Taylor Heineke, I want to put it in perspective for everybody. Remember, Jay Cutler was hated in Chicago after he left a playoff game because he injured his finger. I know it was on his throwing hand, but Taylor Heineke suffered an AC sprain, came in, and still led scoring drives. It's absolutely amazing what this kid did, just to show the kind of heart that he has. Without a doubt, he deserves a chance to come back. In my opinion, unless Watson is realistically on the table, I don't really want to trade any assets. I don't want to give up a bunch of money for a guy, have to pay him, and give up assets for him just because we're trying to go win the Super Bowl. I think defense still wins championships, in my opinion, and that's what's going to carry you with the run game. If you worry about those two, the quarterback position will be so much easier for them to be able to have a grasp on, and you don't need those top guys to really get to that position, in my opinion. What about you, Reed?
I think you do need somebody who could be above average to very good, great to win a Super Bowl nowadays. And I'm 100% in. I would be all in on Stafford, but you're right. It all depends on the compensation. But I think if you add Matthew Stafford to this offense, and then I don't know, maybe you can get an Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 3rd round or 2nd round, or you go out there and sign somebody like a Curtis Samuel, anybody just to take some pressure away from McLaurin, who's not too expensive, then I really think that this is a very good offense all of a sudden. Like I really think that Stafford would help put them over the top. But I'm going to throw another name out there, and don't crucify me for this. It depends on the capital. I mean, it would have to be a mid to late round pick, but he's somebody who could come in and compete. I think with his skill set, he could definitely fit in Scott Turner's offense. And that's somebody who just got ruined by who he was drafted by. And that's Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is still a talented quarterback. He's not who everybody thought he was coming out, but he has a good skill set where he kind of has that backyard style. He's somebody who I think would fit very well in the offense for the right compensation. Don't give up anything more than a 4th round pick for him. But I would be interested to see him. I've always been a Sam Darnold guy. So I don't know. It depends, but I like what you're saying. I'm okay with going in with Heineke and Allen, although I do think that another quarterback would put us over the top.
Yeah, and look, I don't think the Jets are in a position to draft a quarterback right now.
They have too many holes. Yeah, but they're the Jets at the same time.
I understand 100%, and you're not lying about that at all. But that being said, you brought up a great point, Reed, talking about the free agent market for wide receivers. Hall, we talk about this all the time. You could pick one wide receiver that you would like to sign in free agency. Who would that be?
I mean, you guys already know I've been beating the Curtis Samuel drum for going back months ago, back when I was I looked into the 2021 wide receiver free agents going into the season just because I was like, we're gonna need somebody like because Cam Sims, all those guys, whether they have like little flashes here and there, they're not solid enough. They're not good enough to be everyday starters. So I was already looking into that list, and again, Curtis Samuel was a guy that popped up on my list. He's been in the system already. Obviously, he had a breakout year this year. You guys saw what he did to us when he came here, and I just think that he's definitely an upgrade from Steven Sims. You can put him in a slot. You can use him in the backfield. He's pretty much a weapon on the field. And I think that, again, someone that already knows the offense and come in and be a contributor from day one, Curtis Samuel would be on my list. But also, obviously, I like Allen Robinson as well.
Yes, we know all too well about your fascination with Allen Robinson. That's been well documented. What about you, Adam? What one wide receiver do you want the Washington football team to go after in free agency if they do?
Allen Robinson, that's a guy I like. But I was listening to a couple of the national shows today. I think they're gonna have a lot of issues attracting any kind of legit free agent wide receiver. I think the word is out from what I've heard. I think it was Tucker who was saying it on Sirius that unless they make a big move for like a Stafford or someone, it's not going to be very desirable. But the two names that were mentioned, Samuels and I think that they can add something to this offense. But again, man, this draft to me is one of the deepest wide receiver classes I've seen in a while. Maybe not
deeper
the
than
best.
last year.
Yeah, and that's crazy to say that it's deeper than last year. But man, Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith, guys, man, I think we're talking about the Jets. If they don't trade up, they're gonna go one of those guys. It's gonna be a la Keyshawn Johnson, the first, I think, the highest they've picked since then. But these guys are that good. So that's where it's tough for me because you're gonna have to spend some money in free agency because you can't put all your chips in a row for the draft because we could see a big wide receiver run, but I'll throw another name out there. I know we're talking about free agency, but I'm draft crazy. Kyle Pitts, tight end, Florida. He's the ultimate hybrid. Right. I've had a lot of people on Twitter say, he's not better than Hawkinson was coming out. I disagree.
Yeah, I completely disagree.
I think
Hawkins is better all around, maybe.
All around, but
Kyle Pitts is a fantastic blocker. I did in my film breakdown. I did of him last year. He is
Hawkinson
incredibly good. I mean,
Hawkinson was another level though.
I'm telling you, Kyle Pitts is able to turn guys' hips, and these are really big dudes that he's manhandling.
Yeah, 6'6".
I think Kyle Pitts is a legit. He's going to be a top 10 pick in my opinion. I don't think Washington's going to have the chance.
Right. I agree. Watch some of the blocks he makes, there you said, and go watch. It's hard. It's not that easy to find. You'll have to look around the web, but there's basketball tapes of him out there. He blocks out in space like he's boxing out. There was a couple plays where I saw him go out, extend his arms, and in the last second, he just turned the box dude out. Mm-hmm. This guy is he's not, like you said, best kept secrets, it's over. He's going top 10. But like I said, crazy things that happen. You see quarterbacks go early on team need. These receivers are crazy good. Micah Parsons. When you start to look at all the prospects, somebody's going to fall. And then when somebody's going to fall, it's a domino effect. A couple are going to fall. So I think in free agency, you got to be smart. They threw money at Amari Cooper last year. It didn't work. Are you going to try to do that again? I don't know if these guys are worth that kind of money. And I think the path that they're on right now, I think that they could do better by getting a couple guys in the draft. I think you look at the Kansas City blueprint. I like what they did with their receivers. You have Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney. You have guys that can, maybe it's high praise looking at Hill, but I can see that kind of production if they medicals check out with them. So I think you just invest with your draft. You've got an extra third this year. If anything, maybe you even consider trading back in the first because getting that capital this year, I like the depth of positions, and the depth of positions are positions of need for Washington.
Yes,
so
that's a good thing.
I say no to going crazy and throwing all the money out. It's going to be a really expensive free agency period, and I think players like Robinson, they'll probably be in Jacksonville or go wherever the money is going to go. I think a lot of these going to, the first wave, they're not going to be active either. But in saying that, as bad as they need a receiver, they got to show up this middle linebacker, and man, they got to get a cornerback there. But other than that, I don't see them going 5 years in a row on the defensive side of the ball. Some people think, how can you deny it if, Bolton's available? You have these linebackers. I think that that's all part of the equation, but I just think there's so much talent at the skill position at wide receiver. And, I'll throw a little, monkey wrench in there, Travis Etienne and Harris from Alabama. These are two running backs that you never have to take out of the field. So kind of a stretch with those guys in the first round, but just think, a combination with Gibson that there's just a lot of ways they can go. And I think Rivera has shown and Turner has shown they're very innovative. They're kind of going to the path that I was hoping KOC would go when he was here. But in saying that, you got to get faster. And right now, they just don't have speed at anything on offense right now besides McLaurin. So to me, however you get it done, upgrade speed.
Yeah, and look, the guys that I have circled, and I don't think that they're going to be in the running for Allen Robinson. I think Chicago knows what they have there, and they're going to retain him as much as they can.
He doesn't want to come back to
I don't
Chicago.
think he wants to
He's
stay
already
in
said
Chicago.
That. He's already said that they had 365 to get a deal done, so that's that. So
he's out.
Honestly, depending on what the Jets do, I could totally see the Jets making
or the Eagles, in my opinion. Like
Eagles,
Adam said, or Jacksonville.
Yep.
I completely understand. But my point is,
he's not going back to Jacksonville.
I don't think
receiver core is good.
Yeah, it is. I don't think that the Washington football team, especially Ron Rivera, if he's going to be in charge of these players, that he's not a typical guy that goes out and does crazy things at free agency, right? I know, barring last year with Amari Cooper. I said it last year. I thought that was Ron just trying to shoot his price up to force the Cowboys to spend more.
Maybe.
Personally. So I really don't think that he will, but I will say if I had to pick one, it'd be between Golladay and Godwin. Those are the two guys that I would target. They're both young guys, 26, 27. They're big. They're almost like AGG in a way, where they're big, they're fast, and they catch a lot of balls. What was the one issue with Taylor Heineke on that one 4th down in the playoff game? He didn't have anyone that could throw a jump ball to, and that's what this offense is lacking right now. And I know speed is crucial. I just don't want to get put in a position where all you have is speed and essentially you can't get the ball downfield without creating separation. And that's where I'm at. But in my opinion, I don't think it's going to go down. But what about you, Reed? What's one player that you would want to target?
I think obviously it would be nice to get one of those elite guys. I think it's highly unlikely that all three, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, and Kenny Golladay, all reach the free agent market. But anything can happen. Of course it can. We clearly know that wide receiver is arguably the biggest need this year. But that's why I said somebody like a Curtis Samuel, who is familiar with the system. He's not going to demand a ton of money, but he's still going to demand money. Oh, I know. And he's familiar with he could totally take over the slot. In my opinion, I don't think there's any secret that we're going to acquire 2 new wide receivers this offseason. I think we're either going to sign one and draft one, or we're going to double up in the draft in the 1st through 3rd round and get somebody.
One thing we can't forget about Kelvin Harmon. He is returning from injury, and he was slated as the number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah. He was doing very good. But I don't know how much Ron Rivera, has invested in him.
But I think like another Cam Sims, my bad.
Right. So. I think somebody like a Marvin Jones, who has experience being a number 2 wide receiver, could be somebody who you could look at, who could really just help be a solid possession wide receiver or deep threat for across from Terry McLaurin. And then, of course, like we said, I know we'll get into the draft a little bit later, but the one person who I love in the early rounds, Jalen Waddle, will he fall there? I don't know.
We're going to talk about the draft. Don't worry.
I know, but hey, we brought it up. Adam brought it up. I'm just rolling. Yeah. Adam brought it up, and he's the king, so I just like talking about it. But like I've said, I don't know what it is. I've had a man crush on Amon-Ra St. Brown lately from USC. I just think he can do so much, and he's so physical. He would bring a lot to this offense. So I don't know, but I really don't think that we're going to go after one of the big guys. I could see a Curtis Samuel, Marvin Jones, somebody along that line, those lines.
Before we get into fan questions, because we got a couple here, Ron Rivera had a meeting with Daniel Snyder, and so I want to start with you, Hall. What do you think that meeting was about? And if you could be in that meeting, what would you be telling Snyder?
Definitely think it was about the quarterback situation, what he wants to do moving forward as far as GM and kind of the names that he was going to throw out there and bring in for interviews. And, pretty much just like his plan for the 2021 season going forward. And if I was there in that room, I would definitely be telling him to just sit. I'll be telling Mr. Snyder to just sit back, let me handle all this. You just come out there and sign the checks when needed, do a couple meet and greets, shake a couple hands, and go right back into wherever you've been at for the past couple of months and just do you.
He's been on that yacht, dude, chilling off the coast of France, minding his own business, and I love it. What about you, Adam? What would you think that was being discussed in that meeting, and what would you say if you had the opportunity to be there?
Just going off things I've read with, his past meetings with Joe Gibbs when Ron Rivera was with him, I think the piece of advice he gave him was just always keep him in the loop. So what I feel like is I don't think it's as much asking. I think it's more like, these are our guys coming in, any suggestions, blah, blah, blah. As far as what I would say, I guess I would try to get a grasp on, where he's heading for the future as far as, I think the only one that really knows with the whole stadium situation is him. And maybe they've talked about it. It's a valid thing to bring up. And you have to assume at this point, if the lease is within 5 years, usually teams have some kind of groundbreaking date or something. So I think that would definitely be a question if it already hasn't been discussed. But other than that, you got to feel pretty happy about the way the roster is going. I think the Dwayne Haskins question got answered. That would have been the elephant in the room. So I think you pretty much go your separate ways, and Snyder's going to be dealing with a lot of potential litigation and whatever in the offseason, but I don't care.
Yeah, no, I will tell you this. If I was in that meeting, I'd be walking in there with 2 bottles of tequila saying, fellas, let's celebrate the season. Oh, my goodness, what did we do this year? But in my opinion, what I think they're talking about,
why is Ronald Rivera got to drink tequila, Kyle?
I don't know, because it gets you messed up. It's celebratory. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say what I think the meeting was about the quarterback position in particular. I do think that Ron Rivera wanted to make a point with Dan to say, I like where the QB position is. I don't want you going above my head and reaching and going to grab one of these guys, trading assets, or putting up too much money for it. I have a good grasp on what's happening here. And then also with the GM search, I think he also had probably putting in his 2 cents on what he expected out of the GM spot. And if I was there, I'd be telling Dan, say, Dan, make sure you put a massage chair on your yacht. Make sure you're hanging out, having a good time, and listen to the Burgundy Zone. Don't worry about calling Ron about stuff.
Keep yourself busy.
Exactly. Just stay busy. Make sure you stay away, because there's a lot going on with Snyder's plate right now. And the last thing we need is him buttoning his head back into it, because Hall and I talked in the last pod. So many years that we've had hope that things actually were changing. I don't want that to start turning its ugly head again, in my opinion. What about you, Reed?
Yeah, you're right. I would tell Snyder to just go chill, watch some Norm Macdonald's compilations on YouTube, and you'll be good. You'll be fine. Just stay away.
You would watch something like that. You totally
what? Norm's the man.
Dude, Norm is the man, though.
Dude, funniest dude of all time. But no, I think it was Ron Rivera just going there, letting the owner know the game plan and just being like, this is what we're going to do. This is how I feel this position's going to go. This is where I feel we're set. This is where I feel we have holes. Clearly, I did okay signing the free agents last year. So let me handle that. Don't go overspend, because I did great by not spending much at all. And also the GM search. I think that he's really I never really realized this, but the more like that I just Googled into the whole Kyle Smith thing, Ron Rivera's kind of been talking about this for a while, kind of throwing out some shots where he's been asked about Kyle Smith, and he has said, well, it's all about working together. It's all about you have to have chemistry. So I think Ron's never really been sold on it. Maybe they had some stuff going on. I don't know. But I think that the Ryan Cowden, I think he's a very real possibility, the guy from the Titans, that if that's the case, then a wide receiver that I forgot to mention, depending on his price tag, Corey Davis is going to be out there as well, who just had a breakout year. So I just think it was Ron just kind of going over everything and making sure that Dan knows his place and to not get involved.
Yeah. And so let's start out with our fan questions. And the first one I'm going to start out with is from the H2ER podcast. Our fellow podcasters are Freddie and Maddie Jane. Fantastic pod if you haven't listened to it already. Their question was, who was the best of these 3 for the Washington football team? Rob Kelly, Ryan Terrain, or Trung Candidate? And I'll start with you, Hall.
Man, that's a tough one. I got to go with my man Fat Rob, just because he was undrafted rookie, came out. What did he run for, like 700-800 yards as a rookie year?
Something like that, yeah.
Had a couple highlight plays, a couple touchdowns here and there. Those other 2 dudes, that's like throwback. I forgot about those dudes. But it's probably recency bias, to be honest with you, just because. But I'll go with Fat Rob.
What about you, Adam? Who would you pick of those 3?
Fat Rob definitely. But the thing is, I've just been sitting here and thinking of Terrain. And I remember I actually had high hopes before I really understood evaluation. And was like, man, this guy can truck some people, man. He can be good. And then just looking back, I'm like, man, nah, he wasn't very good. But Kelly, he was good. I don't know what happened. It's like he dropped the weight and then everything just dropped off. So I don't know. There's some the fact that I'm not surprised Freddie and them came up with them, because of course they would. But nah, those guys would be some of the last running backs I probably would ever think about for Washington.
It's funny. Trunk candidate's always the guy that I use when somebody's like, name a random Washington player. I'm always like, fucking trunk candidate. And who remembers that guy? But I think, I would go Fat Rob. Both Fat Rob and Terrain both rushed for over 700 yards for us. Look at this real fast. I had to Google it to see what exactly trunk candidate did for us, because I remember when we signed him, but I don't really remember that season too much. 11 games, he started 10. He rushed 142 times for 600 yards and a touchdown. So not too bad. Not good, but not too bad. But people forget about trunk candidate, but I'm going Fat Rob.
I'm going to switch it up, dude. I'm going Ryan Terrain. And strictly only because he completely ran over and bulldozed the one Philly DB. What was his name?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, but that right there sold me on Ryan Terrain. Just because he did it against Philly, in Philly, I was like, I love you. You're my man. That's what I'm going with.
Remember when we randomly signed Willie Parker and Larry Johnson and Sean Alexander and all these? There was like a weird point where we were getting old running backs.
That was like all over the hill. The over the hill fantasy league.
Yeah.
It's better. It's better than when we were signing old coaches playing bingo off the street to come call plays for us in the box when Jim Zorn era.
Jim Zorn was a good guy.
What a decade it was.
He was a good guy, a horrible coach.
John Beck and Rex Grossman. You remember those days? My goodness.
John Beck sucked.
Beck.
But he was a good guy too.
What a time to be alive.
Right.
Rex Grossman was a good guy.
All right. Great question from the HGWR pod. But Paul Murphy, UK guy, has a question for us. Who is the most underrated player of the year, Reed?
Ooh, most underrated player of the year. That is tough. I'm going to go with somebody that, I'm probably going to end up being wrong because there's going to be somebody else that's going to slip my mind. But I'm going to go with Ronald Darby. Ronald Darby, I know a lot of people think Ronald Darby, when we signed him, they're like, Ronald Darby, come on. We've burned him with the Eagles for so long. He hasn't been good since his rookie year in Buffalo. And that was true. But he played pretty well this season. He definitely, I think, benefited from this defensive front. And he's somebody who didn't really get talked about as much because, Kendall Fuller had the interceptions in the beginning of the year, and of course the defensive line. But I think what Ronald Darby did was good. I really like what him and Moreland did. They were both underrated. Didn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah, he led the league in pass deflections.
Breakups. Yeah, 20, which is a lot for one season.
Yeah, he did a really good job this year. But my most underrated player of the year, Paul, is going to have to be Morgan Moses. For numerous reasons. He was a leader off the field. He did well on the field. I know that Keith didn't pick him as the blanket party recipient. Like, I'm not going to agree with it. I love Morgan Moses. The guy has battled it out. Talking about Trent Williams last year, had the ability to come back and show that he wanted to be on this team and work for it. Morgan Moses did that. And he talked in his press conference, the end of the year press conference with the press, that he said after his dad passed away, he had a conversation with Rivera, and he was legitimately thinking about not playing this year because of it. And Ron Rivera kind of talked him out of it. And to think that he was going through that, was able to play, become a leader, help this team get to where they are, and then played well. Probably one of his best seasons ever after working so hard in the offseason. My most underrated player by far is Morgan Moses for everything off the field associated with it. What about you, Adam?
I'll stay on the offensive line. Chase Roullier. For him to get his extension, this is why I'm getting more positive. I don't drink the Kool-Aid anymore. Becoming an evaluation, you start to separate yourself as the team and get more excited for like the draft sometimes than things like that. But when you see a player like that, I scouted him. I talked to his father time to time on Twitter to see him get that extension. And if you've just just go back and watch all 22 coaches film. This guy was directing this line. Morgan Moses was great. He had a really good year. I was really happy to see him. But Corey Raymer was really quarterbacking this offensive line. There was a lot of situations that if it wasn't for him, as bad as it was, these quarterbacks would have got destroyed. Yeah. There was a lot of calls that I saw him make, especially when Dwayne Haskins is. There was a lot of times when, we were waiting for the quarterback. We saw a lot of kills with Heineke and the others. We weren't seeing that with Dwayne Haskins because Roullier was doing it. Right. So when you see him being able to do that and think how long it's been since they've had a really good center, man, they locked him up. Maybe, on the cheap. As underrated goes, to me, it's him. It's not even close to underrated. I think Morgan Moses I know people in National that know about him, but when they said Roullier, I had people come to me from other teams. Who is he good? And I'm like, yeah, he's damn good. I was happy.
He was third or fourth, according to PFF, in terms of centers in the NFL.
He was like fourth.
Yeah, third or fourth. He was fantastic.
He had a fantastic year. So now that you have to switch your stuff up, Paul, who are you going with?
I'm going to stick on the offensive line, and this is a real.
We're going heavy on this side, boy.
Yeah, I mean, because everyone was killing the offensive line coming into the season, especially the left side. So that's why I got to go with Cornelius Lucas.
I was just about to say him.
This is a guy that when we signed him in free agency, he was like one of the lowest rated left tackles in the league last year. Everyone kind of, whenever he had to come in, step in, everyone was kind of like, oh, man, here we go. It's going to be a swinging door pretty much. Whoever's on the other side is just going to right to the quarterback. But he stepped in, had a phenomenal season, really showed up that left side. And, again, no one really talked about how great of a job he did. I know PFF had him graded
12th,
a couple of like 12th overall. A couple of times he was in the top like 5 as far as like that week. So he definitely did a great job this season, and hopefully he'll continue it into next season with that.
Yeah, that's a great one.
One thing about Cornelius Lucas that everybody keeps forgetting about when they're doing these mock drafts is a lot of people put Washington with like a left tackle in round 1 or very early in round 2. I don't see that happening. Ron Rivera, if you look at his history in Carolina,
he doesn't do it.
He doesn't do it. They've always had people that were nationally underrated but performed well as a unit. Cornelius Lucas is the definition of that guy. If you can lock him up for cheap, not have to spend franchise left tackle money on him, I'm all about that. He played fantastic.
Yeah, and speaking of the offensive line, let's get into Jesse's question, the questionnaire. He asks it quite simply, as the Washington football team, let's think outside the box here. Where do they go from here? And I'll start with you, Adam.
I think, as we've been talking about, those quarterbacks, so they're going to look into that. What teams are looking to move? The Watson thing, I think Houston's really dumb, but I don't think they're going to make the same mistake twice.
Bill O'Brien not there.
Twice, let's say 3 times, with the Tunsil deal too. So I don't think they're going to do that. I think they'll deal with he'll be unhappy for at least another year. But yeah, I think they'll probably look to Stafford. If Stafford is really on the market, I think Washington is definitely one of the top teams watched. Not because I'm saying I want it or I'm just playing devil's advocate. I think that's a likely scenario because, like I said, after Lawrence and Zach Wilson, I'm a big Zach Wilson guy. I think that there's a significant drop off. I like Trey Lance. I have my big board because of his talent, but I don't think they have the luxury again to wait for a year or 2 because Lance is just like Fields. They're going to need that time. So I just don't think this is the year. I think we're talking about you can be a really good team and it doesn't mean that you're throwing your season. But I think if you can say, let's look at next year's class, and it's a damn good class quarterbacks, the early thoughts that there's going to be some ballers in that class. So I think it doesn't prohibit you from going a quarterback, like I said, in the 2nd, 3rd round. So where do we go? I think we go into the season with Heineke, a draft pick, and maybe Allen. The injury, I think let's not underestimate that being an issue because I think they're going to want to see how he's going before they commit any kind of real money to him. I don't think he's going to do a 1-year deal here. I think he'll believe he can get more than that. So my thinking is they'll probably be, another lower price free agent. So I think you're going to see a real camp battle, depending on what happens with COVID. I think that what we're hoping to see is just a real battle there because I think our defense just needs to have pieces. I don't really think that there's true battles at a lot of positions there. I think we just need to add some key pieces. Offensive line, same scenario. But next year, just to get the ship rolling, just consistency. And going with Heineke might be a bad idea to a lot of people, but I think if you look at the track record for Washington, other teams, it's not the worst idea. You just can't put all your balls into his court. I think you have to have another plan, and I don't think they had another plan this year because I think they were never really sold on Haskins. They knew Alex Smith's situation, so they really put it all on Kyle Allen. They really did, and I just think you can't do that again with Heineke. But again, his upside to me, way higher than Colt McCoy, way higher than Allen. Which this is the stuff I've been hearing on Twitter. It's not a good not a good comparison. But again, just look at their college games. A baller's a baller, and that's what he is. He's a gamer. So, I've been I was mentioning in a while that Kevin Sheehan, to me, he hit it on point. This guy is Jeff Garcia, guys. That's what he was. Came to the NFL, latest career from Canada. This guy's coming. Yeah. Sheehan, it was the best comparison I've heard all year. So let's just think that. Let's think in this year we're going with a poor man's Jeff Garcia. Let's see what we can put behind him. But I think that's a really good plan.
Thank God he doesn't talk like Jeff Garcia, though.
Oh, thank God, right?
I knew you were going to
Jeff
say
Garcia, I'm going to go out there. I just threw the ball to Terrell Owens and we're good. Somehow that guy married a playmate.
Yeah,
Yeah. Dude, he gets it, dude. Jeff Garcia's living the dream.
Living in a glass closet, though.
Right. Now, Jesse, where do we go from here? I think the biggest point of emphasis for the Washington football team is obviously the GM search. You're going to make sure that that's nipped in the butt. But re-signing the guys that passed the test. Because Ron Rivera, when he stepped in, he wasn't going to give contracts to anybody until they showed that they were the kind of guys that he wanted to build around. So, in that being said, you got to re-sign the ones you want to be here. And then from there, like you said, Adam, I don't want to put all the bread in one basket. You know what I mean? And so that's why I want to kind of look at this draft is going to depth and getting those guys. And then if somebody does play well to be able to be a starter, then yeah, absolutely, you hit lightning in a bottle. But that's where I want to be. I want to be able to re-sign our guys. And this will not be too heavy in free agency. I know we have a lot of money in cap space. I think $40 million this year. Use that to re-sign our guys, to make sure the ones that pass the test, make sure you bring them in, and then use your assets in the draft to go get a linebacker or whatever have you. I definitely think that's a point of emphasis, in my opinion. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I said it last episode. I'll go both sides of the ball. Offensively, we got to get another dynamic piece to this offense. I think that we need some speed on this offense. Like I said, like Adam said, outside of Terry McLaurin, there's no real speed, no real threat on this offense. I know Gibson, that's my guy. He's coming along as a really, really good running back. I think he's going to be great going forward. Obviously, McKissick is going to be a dynamic guy going forward, so we can bring him back. But, yeah, we definitely need another wide receiver and another speedy piece of this offense to kind of really open it up and stretch the field and really get this offense going. And defensive-wise, I think that Ron Rivera needs to find his Luke Kuechly of our defense, his middle linebacker, his defensive captain, his guy that's going to get everyone lined up right. He's going to make all the calls in the back end, and he can run sideline to sideline and is a real big thumper. So I think those are two, in my opinion, two things that I'm looking for going into the season.
Yeah.
Breaking news that Jags just hired Urban Meyer.
Yeah,
I thought they would.
Ripping bongs, baby. He's going to be partying tonight. I can tell you that right now.
Get the yacht ready, baby. Woo!
Get that shirtless guy ready. Let's go, man. He's going to be having fun tonight. What about you, Reed? What do you think about where do we go from here?
I think when you really look at the roster, what showed in the playoff game was their glaring weaknesses. I think with like the wide receiver position, it's just you need another playmaker. Unfortunately,
the drops were a problem. You were right.
Yeah, and obviously Steven Sims, he's my boy. You guys know that. I love him. I'm just kidding. He's my mortal enemy. I hate him. I want him gone. So you gotta address, like you guys have all said, you gotta address the playmaker. Yeah. I really like where we're at. I do think that the offense is close if they get another wide receiver or two and whoever they get playing quarterback, as long as they do their job and play well. The sky's the limit for this team with this defense. But you're also right, Kyle. You got to take care of your guys. Brandon Sheriff, I know his contract's up.
Terry McLaurin.
Well, Terry's not up yet, but we do. I know you wanted to sign him 2 years ago.
No. Sign him now.
Yeah. No, I know. But Ronald Darby is somebody else who I could definitely see them bringing back. So yeah, you got to
mutual interest on both sides. I think I heard that.
Yeah.
So he fit really well in the system.
Yeah. So you gotta take care of your guys, and you gotta really address those weaknesses because they were glaring on a national stage.
Yeah.
And like you guys have all said, a linebacker. They need somebody out there, whether it's in the first round of the draft, second round. I know the top 2 rounds you could really get somebody good. I think Nick Bolton's more of a second round pick. It's unfortunate that Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa from Notre Dame. He's more of like a safety hybrid, Landon Collins-esque.
He's a linebacker boy. I'll tell you right now, that boy can play.
He is, and he's very similar to Tevin Smith almost. Tevin, what's his face from Jacksonville. So that could be good, but he's too small to be the thumper.
I know what you're saying.
He's
need
a pass
the
coverage guy.
prototypical middle linebacker.
And I would love JOK, but you need somebody in that early part who can be that thumper.
Yeah.
Go out there spanking boys.
And
not like little boys, but.
So Burrows from the DC Tweet Team podcast.
Oi.
He has a question for us. Drafting at 19, I'm going to put some context with it. Drafting at 19, do you worry about the East being able to get better with higher picks? You know, the Eagles are going to be able to have some guys back. The Cowboys are getting Dak Prescott back next year. Does it concern you that the draft pick is so late in the 19th pick that it could possibly make us worse next season based on the other teams and how high they're drafting? And I'll start with you, Reed.
the one thing that sucks is this draft strengths, especially at the top of the draft, really match up well with our division rivals' needs. You look at the Eagles, they could get a wide receiver or they could get a linebacker like Micah Parsons. You look at the Giants, they could go get another corner opposite Bradbury, they could get a receiver. And then you look at Dallas, they could get another playmaker on offense like a Kyle Pitts, or they could go out there and they could get somebody in the secondary or a pass rusher. So yeah, they are going to be improved, but at the same time, this team has been so good at drafting as of late. And I understand Ryan Smith might not be there, but you really got to feel confident. At least 19th is still good. My biggest concern next year, honest to God, is the schedule. If you just look at our home games next year outside of the division, that's going to be a tough one. That's
AFC
tough.
West, NFC South.
Yeah, that's hard.
What about you, Adam? Are you worried about the draft position picking at 19th based on where the other teams are?
I think if you flip it around, they were thinking the same thing with Chase Young.
Right.
I see some really good talent, but I don't see a Chase Young. I don't see a Chase Young.
Right.
Micah Parsons, Chase, Devontae Smith, really, really, really good players. But I'll stick with the generational talent. I said that when the first time I saw him 3 years ago. He is one. So no, I'm not really worried about it. And I think don't be, a lot of people are so convinced that Dak Prescott is coming back. I'll throw a monkey wrench in there that, they have enough weapons around that you bring in somebody like a Zach Wilson, let's say.
They don't need to spend that much.
Let's say, you want some Tony Romo kind of esque. That's Zach Wilson, guys. That's Zach Wilson.
100%.
That throws a better pass, that throws a no look like Mahomes. He's the most. I've heard so much different ideas on him. So don't be surprised if you see that. But scared? No. If it was Lawrence, I would say I think he's a sure bet. He's going to be really good. If he was going to one of our division rivals, I'd be a little concerned. Right. But I think good teams draft well, and hopefully we can keep Kyle Smith here because I think he's done a hell of a job. Yep. But I'm a big believer in building your team to the draft, keeping your own guys. I think it's not something that Washington has done consistently. They've tried it for a year and then thrown the money at somebody. So I think let's just continue this. Rivera, you look at his history, he's not going to do crazy stuff. And trading picks, I don't see it happen. If anything, I think they'll trade back. And, you keep bringing up, Amon St. Brown, man, he's my 7th in my top 25 big board, which ranges from first to second round. So
there you go.
I love him too, man. I think that there's 7 guys.
Great minds.
To say that we're at 19, I think that, it might be a little early, but teams are going to reach. So you have 5 to 7 guys that are real legitimate chances at 19. The question is, do you love one of these linebackers more? But I love the receivers. I think you bring a receiver in, you can do a lot of things because I think Thomas really helped solidify that tight end position where he needs a compliment. Kyle Pitts, he's a dream if he's there. But other than that, we're not really pressured. I think you can go mid-range free agent and you give him a good compliment of, a guy that's a decent blocking tight end. So I think what we saw is throwing the money at him. We saw what happened with Austin Hooper. If you're gonna throw the money at a tight end, that really didn't get him in. We got the guy and he's
thank God we didn't do it. Yeah.
So I just continue to build through the draft. I really like, I'm only really into about 100 something prospects right now, but just going through that, man, they have so much that they can build in the first 3 rounds. Cause you're talking about 2 picks in the 3rd. Yeah. So that's 4 picks in the top 3 rounds. So I think they can do a lot of damage.
The 3rd round's our money round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So Burrows,
money round for years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so Burrows, I will say, I'm not overly concerned with where we're picking at 19. To be perfectly honest with you, as long as we hit there. Now, I will say if Devontae Smith, if he does go to Philly or the Giants, I am concerned about that because the guy is a baller.
He's so good.
He is very, very good. But the one, or Kyle Pitts, really, those two are really concerning for me at having to match up on those guys twice a year. But at the end of the day, we have 99, and we have Ron Rivera at the helm. I'm not concerned about it. This year, nobody expected them to be where they are. I know injuries kind of depleted everything. Injuries happen every year in this division. For that reason, that kind of confidence, what they're building here, that's what I have confidence in. So, no, I don't care where we'd be picking 32nd. I still wouldn't care. So, all day long, I'm confident in the team. I'm not worried about where they're drafting. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as y'all. I'm not really worried about it. Obviously, with those other teams in our division picking above us, I think they're like top 10, top 12 picks, all of them. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to get some guys that are going to come in, they're going to contribute from day one, hopefully for them, but hopefully not for us. But I'm confident in our drafting process, our scouts, and all the guys that vet the prospects. We've been doing a great job drafting over the past 3 to 4 years, 4 years. And I'm really confident in this coaching staff that whoever they pick at 19 is going to be able to come in day one. They're going to be able to coach him up and be him on the field, day one starter or day one contributor. And yeah, like I said, the coaching staff is what I'm really I'm really high on, because you find guys like Cam Curl in the 7th round, Jimmy Moreland, guys like that come and contribute. So I'm definitely high on the coaching staff, and whoever they bring in is going to be a day one contributor or starter.
Real fast, Kyle, I know we got to move on, but if I can say no matter where we take a linebacker, either this offseason or in the draft, whether it's mid-round, early, whatever, you got to trust that this linebacker is going to be productive. With Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio scouting these guys, like, this linebacker is going to be a stud, whoever he is. Yeah,
exactly. What a great point that was, Reed.
I know. Thank you.
You rarely have him, but that was a good one.
I think I do.
Dustin Hopkins, who was the punching bag for a lot of the fan base throughout the season with missed extra points and everything. He's set to be a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. So Mike has a question for us. Do we need a new kicker, Reed?
I mean, Dustin Hopkins has done a lot for us. He's been solid, but I mean, this season it's just so many games were so close, and he could have changed a lot of the outcome of a lot of these games. And at least you got to bring in competition for him, somebody who actually has experience, or somebody who
they have Kyer Vedvik on the practice squad,
right? But I think you got to bring in somebody who they really have a little bit more confidence in to go in there and be like, all right, come on, here it is. Because I know Hopkins was injured, but I think they're definitely going to look at a kicker, either bring one in for competition, somebody who's legit, who has experience in this league or who has all the attributes, or they're just going to straight up say, bye, Dustin, be gone.
What about you, Adam? Do you think we need to get a new kicker?
Well, that was Jay's guy. Jay loved him because his strong leg. He loved the idea that the kickoff returnable. Yeah, he loved that.
Jay loved a lot of random guys.
Yeah, they were. Rivera's
Jay liked the long ball.
He's not going to come in and clear the roster. So I think, he wanted to see what he had on special teams, and I think he saw what he needed to see. Hopkins didn't do nearly enough to keep his job. He's not going to be in high demand, so there's no rush to re-sign him. Kickers aren't the same as any other position. They really can go out in the offseason, bring a couple into camp and see what happens, because likelihood, whoever they bring in, it probably won't be the one that finishes out the year. So to me, it's kicking I don't know what's going on with kickers, man. It used to be a lot. I think that personally, I'm American Australian myself, and I think they need to go a lot more with the Australian rules. There's a lot. There's a guy who's actually training them out in the West Coast with USC, California, and these guys from Australian Rules of Rugby are coming over there, and they're able to do directional kicks on the run. These guys we need more of these. I believe there's one for Philly. A couple have been in and out.
Is it Miami's kicker or punter? The University of Miami, who's jacked and tattooed everywhere, former rugby player?
And someone said about punters, well, they do drop kicks. I used to go over there. My cousin used to play, and just guys like backyard ball. I'm talking about they would just spin it, drop it, and let it spin and drop kick. And I see him 50 yards through the uprights with nobody holding it. So they laugh when they see about hold. I was talking to my cousin about how they hold it. Oh, it's a bad hold. He missed it. It's a joke to them because they'll do it without anyone holding it. So you need to go where the talent is. They did this a long time ago with soccer players. This is a time for Australian rules. So I think they need to start being innovative, because right now the kickers coming out of college, everyone's coming out. Man, these guys are just inconsistent. They come out the best in college. They come in the moment's too big. So I think you got to think out of the box. And I think Andy will tell you, there's some guys in England he probably thinks would do better than Hopkins.
I'm
Sav
sure Andy
Rocca was
could.
Australian. Remember Sav Rocca?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's my guy.
Do you remember when the Bucks traded up? What was it, the third round to draft that kicker? He didn't even last
Florida
2 seasons.
State.
That was hilarious.
That was so funny.
But in my opinion, I actually don't think that they should look for a new kicker because of some of the failed kicks that Dustin Hopkins had this year. I think you can kind of get him on a really good deal. You already know he's in the system. He gels with the locker room. Tressway loves to play with him. Same with Nick Suddenberg. So I think that he could come back on a team-friendly deal. I know the kickers generally aren't. Nobody's really overpaying for kickers. But you know what I mean? It's not like it's not a problem that you really need to have, because at the end of the day, you shouldn't be kicking that many field goals anyway. And because of the offense this year, I think it was really leaned on Dustin Hopkins. So I would rather keep Dustin Hopkins because everyone knows him. Everyone likes him. He gets the job done. He did a really good job in December, in my opinion. It was in the early part of the season where he was kind of messing stuff up. So for that credit, I'll say we need to keep Dustin Hopkins. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind bringing him back and just bringing him into camp, bringing some competition into camp, and may the best man win. I mean, you guys pretty much hit all the talking points, so I'll just keep it real short. But Yeah, competition. Ron Rivera is all about competition, so I wouldn't be surprised if he has a kicking competition as well next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before we started recording, Jason Wright did an interview with Grant and Danny, and they asked him about the name, and he said that the name would possibly be rolled out by the interim of next year. I'm not sure if you guys heard of this season. I'm not sure if you guys heard that.
I saw he was doing an interview, but I didn't see what he was saying. I was sleeping, honestly.
Yeah, he said that basically if they had the name ready, it would be rolled out this year, and they would have it already because of the copyrights, because of everything that they would have to get necessarily done. But one of my biggest taking points from that is how much he talked about the fan base and how much the fan base really was keying in on that. I can't thank Jason Wright enough. The dude is the perfect president for us right now.
He's amazing.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
Hold on. There are plenty ships out there that are very valuable. You might think that a golden ship is valuable. You might think that a diamond ship is valuable. I don't know if it'll float. But you know what the most valuable ship out there is?
Championship.
Friendship. That's what I feel with you guys right here. So thank you.
Adam, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight, sir. I know that we didn't. We're gonna have you on again. I'm telling you right now.
We always have
There's plenty of time for
especially
draft.
leading up to the draft.
I know, that's why I didn't want to go too much into
I'm not
it.
stressing
Have Adam
it,
on
guys.
once a week leading up to the draft.
I could.
I'm going
Adam
on
was
2 more after this to talk about nothing but draft, so don't sweat.
Adam was biting at the bit to get into the draft. I was trying to prolong it as much as I could. Adam, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out, sir. You've been a great fan and a great friend on Twitter as well. You're a very busy guy. You're on everybody's podcast.
Yeah.
I'm trying, man.
And you're ready.
Speaks
When's
the
your next
passion.
I'm
article
a
coming?
co-host now, guys. I'm actually a co-host on Football Garbage Time. So I'm
There you
actually a
go.
co-host now.
Hey, congratulations,
that's what's up,
man.
Congrats.
Hey, when's your next article coming out?
I just dropped it today. I just did way too early, big board, top 25 for Washington. A little bit of analysis on there, just some teasers, because, I'm going to spot like a lot of these guys. But like I said, what's going to jump out, no Fields on the top 25 and 7 wide receivers. So some good stuff. Check it out. And I'm going to have some big stuff coming out soon, just pacing myself before the draft. But we're going to have some big news coming out of the draft in the Burgundy and Gold Report. So
there we go.
Exciting, man.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Nice.
Keep up those great interviews. Last year you interviewed Kyle Duggar leading up to the draft. He was a huge name by the time the draft happened, and he wasn't when you interviewed him. You got a great eye for talent. Everyone, thank you to everyone for your fan questions. Jesse, Burrows, Freddie from the HUER podcast, Paul Murphy, Mike, and then Jay Dilla as well. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate your fan questions. We will see you guys again on Tuesday. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Burgundy Zone. The future starts today. Washington football. Woo!
That was a cute.
Washington football. Woo!